On December 3, 2023, Venezuela conducted a public referendum asking its citizens whether it should annex Essequibo, an oil and mineral-rich region in neighbouring Guyana. The results saw 95% of voters favouring the takeover of Essequibo. This referendum, held despite warnings from the International Court of Justice, has heightened concerns for regional stability in Latin America. Today, News9 looks at the long-standing Essequibo dispute and the geopolitical tensions, historical claims, and economic interests that surround it. The competing claims of Venezuela and Guyana over Essequibo date back to Spanish colonial times, when Essequibo was a part of Venezuela. This changed in 1899, when an international tribunal decided on a new boundary between Venezuela and the then British Guyana. Venezuela has never really accepted it. The Latin American nation contested the ruling in the 60s and then in the 80s. The present crisis, however, began in 2015 when ExxonMobil found oil reservoirs about 200 kilometers off the coastline of Guyana. This set off a new round of hostilities. To be clear, Venezuela isn't really in need of Essequibo for its oil. The country already has the largest oil reserves in the world. For the Nicolas Maduro government, the Essequibo issue is one of nationalism. In the days leading up to the vote, massive media campaigns urged people to vote in the referendum as a matter of patriotic duty. Over 10.5 million Venezuelans, or roughly half of the registered voters, participated in the referendum with 95% voting yes. President Maduro described the referendum as a total success and the beginning of a new historic stage. But how Venezuela intends to implement the results still remains unknown. President Mohamed Irfan Ali reassured Guyana citizens that the government is working to ensure the country's borders remain intact. The president also visited troops in the Essequibo region, where he hoisted a Guyanese flag as a symbolic gesture. The rising tensions between Guyana and Venezuela have grave implications for regional stability in Latin America. As of now, the Venezuela military has already established an airstrip near the Venezuela-Guyana border to serve as a logistical support point for the integration of Essequibo. Guyana too has called for military preparedness. Meanwhile, neighbouring Brazil has increased military deployment near its northern border for intensified defensive operations. The dispute also has a bearing on India and the larger world. Venezuela was India's fifth largest supplier of oil in 2019, providing close to 16 million tons of crude oil to Indian refiners. Now, as the American sanctions have been lifted, Venezuela has resumed these supplies. Guyana and India are united by historical connections and cultural affinities. Over 40% of Guyana's population is comprised of people of Indian origin, and even the current Guyana president, Mohamed Irfan Ali, traces his ancestry to India. 2023 has seen the inking of an MOU between India and Guyana for cooperation in the oil and gas sector. Guyana has also agreed to the purchase of 2 Dornier 228 aircraft from Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. So what happens should a conflict break out? Venezuela has been crippled by American sanctions. Its economy is weak and it has few resources for a war. Guyana, however, has no military to speak of, with its armed forces strength at just 5,000 troops. Will the Americans play a role in diffusing the situation? Will this become yet another proxy war like the Russia-Ukraine and the Israel-Gaza conflict? Will the world economy be able to take another hit with oil prices spiraling out of control? Will India remain unaffected by yet another international crisis? We all wait for these answers with bated breath.